So for week 4, what we're going to be working on is actually creating our database tables. So in order for you to know how to create your database and your tables, you are going to kind of work through chapter 11 and chapter 12. So we have the lecture demo that basically goes through kind of the high points of each of the chapters. Both chapters cover how to create a database and how to create tables. Chapter 11 shows you how to do it using code, and chapter 12 shows you how to do it using the SSMS interface. So you definitely are going to want to read through this. A lot of the commands that you are going to see will be on the certification exam. It covers drop and create and alter. So this is kind of your first exposure to some of those commands. So you're going to walk through this, and I do encourage you to use the interactive exercises because they will help you understand the command better. And then when you're done with that, you're going to come back here and work through chapter 11, which basically gives you practice using those SQL commands. So you're going to be executing commands to create a database, to create tables, to add simple constraints, okay, like primary keys and foreign keys, and also how to add indexing. And then the lecture demo for chapter 12 basically goes through the same thing, but you're executing commands using the interface instead of SQL. Okay, so the lecture demo basically goes through kind of the high points in this particular chapter. Okay, and we end up getting into the design, the table designer. Okay, and so you can, anything that you can do through code, you can do through this interface. So this kind of describes how to work through those commands. And then the textbook assignment actually has you execute the commands. So you're going to create a little database, you're going to create a couple tables, add some constraints, and more importantly, the third task has you generate scripts. And this is actually kind of important that you know how to do this because quite often students can't find the scripts that they use to create their final project. And this shows you how to generate the scripts for your database and your tables. And next week or the week after, you will be learning not only how to generate scripts for the database and the tables, but also the data that you've entered. Okay, so this is kind of the first step to generating those scripts. And then task 4 shows you how to do backups. Okay, so you want to go through chapters 11 and 12 before you start working on your final project, Milestone 2. It's really important before you start working on this milestone that I have looked over your milestone 1, and we have gotten your tables fixed and made sure they're correct because you do not want to generate a database with tables that are not set up right, because you will have trouble entering data and executing commands further on down in the course. So make sure that I've kind of looked over milestone 1 and you've incorporated any changes that I've suggested, and then you can move on to milestone 2. You will notice that this is not due for 2 weeks. That gives us enough time to fix up milestone 1. Okay, so milestone 2 does involve actually creating your database and creating your tables. And so I have lots of videos that kind of work you through this process, and I have a sample database that I use. And then I've also got code that you can kind of take a look at. And I have a couple different example databases. One is a business, like a kind of a hobby art selling business, and then the other one is actually a bakery. So you'll have a couple different examples that you can look at. And so basically you have to create the database. You need six to seven tables. That's a minimum. You can have more if you want. You'll need to turn in a database diagram. You need to do a backup of your database. And I also need you to submit your scripts, the code that you used. Okay, so as you create that database, if you save the scripts that you used, like I did, okay, if you save your scripts, then you can just turn those in. And you actually don't have to generate the code because you already have it. Okay, so either way, if you don't have the scripts, you'll have to generate it. If you have them, awesome, you can turn them in. Okay, and that's not due for 2 weeks. Then we do have a quiz, and the quizzes are set up very similar to the MTA. So you are going to see similar question types on the MTA, and students find that because we practice those question types in class here, they do much better on the MTA exam. Okay. If there's anything that you're fuzzy on, constraints or anything else, I do have resources down here for you. I've got a couple YouTube videos that are quite good and a little tutorial as well. If you run into problems, let me know. I would be happy to clarify anything for you or help you with the final project if you run into a snag or if you have problems with the assignments.